Right then guys, how would you like to record cinematic landing replays in Microsoft Flight Simulator, similar to what you've just seen in today's intro? Well, stay tuned and I'll show you exactly how to do it. So we're going to be using the flight control replay function, which is available in MSFS 2024, and it's something I've only just discovered myself, but I can tell you, once you start messing around with it, you can literally lose hours sort of tweaking different camera angles, lighting, weather, basically any settings available in the sim you can apply to your replay. So it is really fun to play around with, and the possibilities are pretty much endless. So I'm going to get us into the air then on our final approach into Manchester. Today we're flying the inibuilds A330 in this fantastic Virgin livery. Basically the replay function doesn't actually work very well with the Phoenix A320, which I'd normally fly in 2024, so hopefully they can sort that out. But yeah, today we're in the A330. Let's get airborne and record that landing. Okay, so we've currently got the sim paused, so we're going to go to the main menu and click the flight control replay button, which is that icon there. And then we're going to come down to the record button. We're not interested in the ghost mode or instant replay, so click record, and that opens up our recording window here. So I'll unpause the sim, and then we're going to click the record button, and there we go. So recording has now started, and we can close that window. That'll carry on in the background, so close that window down, and then we're just going to fly our approach. So let's get approach mode on, and if we take a look at the PFD, we can see we've captured our glide slope. So I'll wind in our missed approach altitude. We'll go 3,000 feet. There we go. And then we can also engage AP2. So if we did want to do an auto land, we can do that. So you know we're going to get the very best replay then. But that's no fun, is it? So I will hand fly the landing when we get to 1,000 feet. And if we look in front of us there, we can see we've got 2 reds, 2 whites on the pappies. And everything else is all looking pretty good. So that's 1,000 feet to go, and autopilot off, and my controls. So let's try and get a nice smooth landing for our replay, shall we? I've not actually flown the A330 that much in 2024, to be honest, so it'll be interesting to see how this goes. Get my excuses in early. It's actually feeling pretty good. Very different to the A320. 500. Okay, 500 to go then. And we're just drifting a little bit on the flight director, so we need to come back left a touch. It's looking a bit better.
300. 200.
Check. Okay, let's get it then.
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard. 10.
And touchdown. And reverse thrust. Green. Decel. And let's hug that centre line. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. Okay, so we've got some more touchdown audio. That's fine. I think what I'm going to do is just bring it to a stop on the runway, and then we can get the recording stopped. So we'll stop there, and we will get our parking brakes set, and we will disarm our ground spoilers and flaps up. Right, so now the fun bit. So back to the FCR menu, and we're going to click the record button again. So that's ended our recording session, and then we're just going to click save, and there we go. So it says the replay has saved, and if we go back to the FCR menu, you can see you can load replay, and the one we've just recorded is at the bottom there, so we'll click on that, and that's loaded it back in again. Okay, so now we have this little slider that we can start dragging around, sort of scrubbing through our replay, and we can just keep dragging that around till we find a point in the replay where we want to continue our flight. We'll come back a little. Let's go back to about a minute from the ground, say, and then what we can do is hit the play button, and there we go, that starts our replay. And what you can actually do at this point as well is take control of the plane, which is a really cool feature, so you can keep practicing your landings over and over. You can also zip around your camera angles like this. That's one of my personal favourites, the old nose wheel gear. pretty cool. Or we can hop inside the cabin and get our passenger point of view. It's pretty nice. Or we can hop outside for the classic engine and wing. Now let's just switch to a different wing shot. And I think we'll leave that on screen for our landing. Should be a good angle to see our touchdown. That's so good. And that's touchdown then. Up come the ground spoilers. Getting a really nice view of Mako Simulations Manchester in the background. Cracking scenery, by the way. And we'll just let the plane come to a halt on the runway, and then as promised we will discuss how we set up that cinematic replay. Okay, so that should just about do it. Let's bring it to a stop there. So the first thing we want to do is open our camera menu and then pop it into the showcase camera, and then we're going to grab the slider in our replay window and just drag it backwards. And what I'm looking for here is the touchdown of the plane there. You just saw the smoke from the wheel, so that's the perfect point at which to set this camera angle. If I just zoom in a little bit, because basically what we're going to do is try and get the camera to pivot around the landing gear as we touch down, and that'll give it that sort of flyby cinematic look. And to do that we need to deselect the drone follow mode and then tick the drone lock mode. And basically if I start moving the camera around, you can see now that's pivoting around where the plane's touching down. So that's sort of what we're after. We can go up and down, left and right, and I'll just switch to my Xbox controller just to move us around a little bit, and we're going to position the camera sort of to the left of the runway, just to the side, so we've got a bit of the airport in the background. Somewhere around this sort of position would be fine. And then what I also like to do is, if we go to the zoom level and crank that right up to 100, it'll look a bit mad to start with. So look, it zooms right in on the nose wheel gear. That's obviously a little bit extreme, but if I start sliding our replay backwards a little bit and pull it forwards, you can sort of see the effect we're going to get as the plane passes by. As I said, that was a little bit extreme, so if we just wind it back, I'll leave the zoom set, but I'll position the camera backwards a bit so we get more of the fuselage in. Somewhere around about there looks pretty good. And again, if we wind it back and in, yeah, we're getting somewhere now. That is looking pretty good. So once we're happy with the camera position, as I discussed in the intro, we can start messing around with weather and time and things like that. So let's roll the time on a little bit so we get to a nice kind of dusky sunset. Oh yeah, that looks quite nice. And if we just slide our weather menu out the way for a second, wind it back again, that's looking pretty good. I'd like a bit more night lighting, to be honest, so let's wind it on a little bit more. Somewhere around about there looks pretty good. That's perfect. So we're getting some nice night lighting. The strobes and landing lights on the plane look pretty good. I would say I'd probably like my camera angle a touch higher. As I said, you can spend quite a long time doing this, and it's a bit of trial and error, so I'm just going to move the camera up a bit so the Virgin logo's sort of above the wing a bit more. So slightly better perspective. That's looking much better. Okay, yes, I'm happy with that now. And that is pretty much all there is to it. So let's have a look at our work, shall we? If we wind it back to around about there, it's pretty good. And then we just need to press the play button, and we can close the FCR window and watch our replay. Just had a little wobble on approach, didn't we? Nothing too bad. Pitch is looking good. Landing gear down. Nose wheel gear down. Ground spoilers are up. Fantastic. That looks really good. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that landing. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up there for today, guys. That concludes my tutorial on how we use the flight control replay function in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. And I'm just going to queue us up for one more replay for our outro. And hopefully you did enjoy that. If you did, give it a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks very much for watching. Bye bye.